Hi everybody, it's Joni Young here. Welcome back to my channel for another painting tutorial in acrylics. Today I've got a pretty autumn landscape to show you. This is a step-by-step, super easy so everybody watching can follow along. I'm going to be showing you how to paint some waterfalls, an emerald sort of colored green background, a really beautiful backdrop to some fall trees. We're going to use a combination of these colors here. I've got some cadmium yellow, some luminous orange for our trees mixed with some white, and then for our darks we're going to be using some phthalo green and some Mars black. I've got my 5-piece set of brushes here: mop, flat, filbert, rigger, and round. I'll have a full list below this video in the description box as well. And I've got an 11 by 14 double primed and stretched canvas. I'm going to just be spraying my canvas to start with a little bit of water, and then we'll add our first color, and it's going to be our phthalo green. So if you guys are excited to learn how to paint this, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to begin by just fine misting my canvas with some water. This just helps me blend and spread my acrylics out more evenly and quicker. This way you use less paint. And I'm just going to go ahead and pick up some of my beautiful phthalo green. I'm going to paint the whole canvas this color. Now that I've got it all phthalo green, we've painted the whole canvas this color, I'm going to take a little bit of white without rinsing my brush out, and I'm going to just start to dab it around and just go around in little light circles. We're going to add a few lighter spots in the sky and then start to come in a little bit brighter with some clouds. But I'll dry this off completely before we do that, and then just give a light little sweep, very lightly pulling, not pushing at all. So let's completely dry this off now. Okay, now that it's all dry, I'm going to take my filbert brush, a little bit of white, and a little bit of green, and then we'll just make a pastel shade of that phthalo green. And I'm just going to start coming in and adding a few little clouds where we left off with our little bits of white earlier. Just picked up a little bit of water to mix in with my paint. So I'll just add a little bit here and there. Leave a little spot right in here for our moon. Just go around in circles continuously without taking your brush off. Okay, then I'm going to take a little bit more white. We're just going to twist and go around in the center, start to brighten that up a little bit more, and then make part of the clouds a little bit brighter. I'm going to come underneath with a clean brush and just graze over where I left off with that white. And add a little bit here on the top. And just a few little clouds here and there around the edges. I'm gonna come in right about here and just add a little one. You can even get nice cloud shapes by tapping the white with the end of your brush. Let's switch over to our round brush now and brighten this moon up by coming in with just straight white, a little bit on the end of my brush. No water needed, just straight 100% paint. Start in the middle, don't press too hard, and just start to soften around and around. Making it a little bigger and softer. Go back and add a little bit extra white carefully in the very center. For our next step, we're going to start coming in with some rocks and create some trees, some waterfalls, but we really want to start with a darker base and some rocks. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my orange and my black just to make more of a really dark chestnut color. You can use straight black if you want. Another nice combination is taking some dark red or any red at all really, and mixing it with black. So let's just start coming in with, we're going to have our waterfall start from here. We're going to have a few more coming from here and a little bit on the edge there. But I want to start coming in up top here with some rocks. So I like using the filbert brush because we have that nice round shape. So that helps, you know, make us work a little less harder. We're going to come over here and add some more. Add a little bit more of my luminous orange. I need to save some up there for our trees. Okay, so we'll have one here, one bigger one here, a little bit off to the side. We're going to come along here. More so in the midground, closer to the foreground. And we'll come up and over down here on the left and add a few more towards the middle here. And a little bit all along the base, all the way to the right corner. Now let's just bring a little bit more in on this side. We'll bring a little ledge in between here and here. And then just a tiny bit here on the left. Now what we're going to do is take some yellow. We're going to just mix in a little bit of our black. And this will give us an olive green shade. I'm going to start adding some moss to the rocks just by tapping. I'm only going to add it to part of the rocks. So more so on, the more yellow you use, the brighter it will be. And you can also add a little bit of white and yellow later on when it's all dry to make it just a little bit brighter. See where we go from here. We might have to later on, and we might not. But there's always options with acrylic. I'm going to tap in here as well, along this little area here, a little bit here. Basically everywhere we have these big rocks, we're going to just come over and add some of this olive green. And again, you can see what a nice texture we get with this filbert brush. Filbert brushes are really versatile. I use them for many things. If you don't have a filbert brush, you can tap with a fan brush or a mop brush. A little bit in here, and I'll take just a little bit more. Maybe with a little bit of orange in there, you get a nice color. So now what I'm going to do is create a soft kind of blurry backdrop with this color. So I'm going to just kind of turn it over and lightly go around in little circles. Okay, for the first of our waterfalls, I'm going to take my flat brush. I'm going to take a little bit of my black, very thin. There's a little tiny bit of dampness on my brush from washing it out earlier. And I'm just going to go from here and here, add a little line there, and just lightly pull up. This is going to give us a little bit more of a shadow between the layers of the white we're going to add for our waterfall. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go from here, pull in between these rocks, and add a little bit like that. I'm going to be a little bit more generous right in here. Okay, I'm going to take some white now. I've cleaned my brush off, and I'm going to start up here. Lightly pull to the center and drop down. Curve, drop down. I'll add another one right there. Go back and reload my brush. I'm going to come in and add one that spills over right here. You can turn your brush straight up and down as well to create some thinner lines. Then I'm going to come right here above where I dropped it down and just add another little one like that. I'm going to come up here, pull and drop, then right there, pull and drop. I'm going to start to wiggle with a little bit of white on the end of my brush, right at the base. Wiggle side to side, bring it around the rock areas here, where we get a little bit of splash and foam from the waterfalls. And then we're going to just travel back and forth, side to side. Start to bring just a little bit here in the center. Then we'll load up our brush again, so you have a little bit on the end of my brush. And we're going to come right in here, pull and drop. So it's going to come down almost like in a little scoop. It's going to be higher up there and then come down lower. We're just going to wiggle, sliding our brush side to side, kind of moving around with it. You know, if you have these dark areas and green underneath, you can even just add little tiny waterfalls coming down and tapering down. I take a little bit more white. And I just brought it up a little bit higher, but it still has that little bit of a scoop. I'm going to take more white and we're going to brighten up the base of the waterfalls. We're just going to tap a little bit like this. And just around the edges. It's going to give us a lot of nice depth and complement our shadows that we've got. We're going to come up from the bottom of this waterfall and we're going to lightly pull up, and I'm going to do it on an angle. Angle here and pull, lightly pull. It just gives it a little bit of gracefulness. I don't know, I just like the way it looks when it just kind of goes up on a little bit of an angle like that. Get these little ones down here as well. And this little one in here. I'm going to wash my brush out. I'm going to switch over to my round brush now. And I'm going to take some more white and I'm going to start making some of these a little fluffy by gently pushing on the end of my brush and a little bit on the side. So like this. More so at the top. We're going to make these look a little bit more fierce and like rushing waters. Just by adding, we're really just like scribbling on here. A lot of newbies, new painters out there think that it must take so long and you must have to be super professional to learn how to paint rushing waterfalls, but really all you have to do is feel comfortable with being a little loose with your hand, and believe me, the more you loosen up, the better the painter you become. It's realizing that it isn't all about being in school for years and being born with a talent. Some people are born with the ability to paint quickly and learn really quickly, but I teach people how to paint all the time and they're always surprised and shocked at how quickly they were able to paint something they thought they couldn't and they thought would take years and years and years. Okay, so we have a rushing waterfall here. It's going to dry a little bit darker and faded, so I'm going to be a little bit more generous with my white. And then I'm just going to leave that one really rushing and powerful, and these ones will be a little more graceful. And tap a little bit of white at the bottom, then bring a few lines up and over. This one will just have a little bit of a wiggle. Adding a little bit of a wiggle too kind of makes it look like there's different tier levels within your waterfalls. Okay, and we'll just have a little bit down here. Now you don't always see a bunch of white on water that's falling and waterfalls. Sometimes it's just see-through and you just kind of see the rocks through. So I'm going to leave that. That's going to dry a little darker, and then just add a little bit of white at the base. Just going to come over the side here with a little bit of yellow, a little bit of white, just kind of blending around that touch of white and yellow on part of the moss covered rocks here. Okay, I'm going to take my mop brush and I'm going to add a little bit more yellow, white, and black. So it's still an olive green. Just want to show you how little paint I have on my brush, but this might not even be enough. I might have to go back and get more, but a lot of people think they have to have like big globs of paint on their brush. You don't. So just a little bit goes a long way and will give you that texture. If you have too much paint on your brush, I'm going to mix up a bit more. If you have too much paint in your brush, you'll be left with just a solid blob and you won't get that texture. So I'm just going to lightly tap here and just start to build up a little bit more before we come in with our trees. I think all these greens look really pretty together. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I like hearing from you guys. If you just want to say hello and let me know that you're enjoying the video. It helps us YouTubers keep our channels going and helping us stay motivated to create content for you guys. Okay, I think we're ready to start coming in with our trees now. I'm going to start with my round brush and we're going to paint some tree trunks and some branches using both of these brushes. For some more delicate branches, I'll be demonstrating that using my rigger brush. Any kind of liner brush will work if you want. I like to use long liner rigger brushes for a lot of my trees and tree branches. Just getting my round brush wet, and I'm using the round brush for the tree trunks because this will help make them a little thicker. Then we'll switch over to the rigger. So I'm going to take my black and my orange and we'll create this nice dark fudgy brown color. Okay, and then we're going to start by coming over here with a tree. We're just going to pull that tree trunk off the canvas, off the far left, and then add a few branches. I'm just going to add a little bit more water to my brush. Add a few little branches here. And then we'll come over and start adding a few on this side. I'm going to start my first one here. A few branches there, little tree trunk. They're kind of going in towards each other, drawing our eyes into the focal point here. Add a little bit more brown there. And then we're going to have another tree in this area here. So I'm just going to twist and wiggle while I'm pulling and stretching out those branches. Mix up a little bit more. And we'll have another tree that comes down from here. And we'll be kind of in between these ones. Now I'm going to switch over to my long liner brush. Be adding quite a bit of water. So I'll just have this here on hand so you guys can see how much you need, so you know how much it actually takes with these brushes. The water will help the paint and the brush kind of just glide. I'm going to just thin that out. A little bit more water. Make sure you just want to have it on the end of your brush. That's all you want to be using, is the tip of your brush. So just light little wiggles, but see the difference in width, and it just makes it a lot wispier looking. And then we'll come in here. Add a few more. Now after we add our leaves with a mop brush, I'm probably going to be coming back over and adding some more visible branches, because we're going to be covering up some of these, right? So we want to have branches that are there before we come over with our leaves, and some that are more in the front and visible after. Okay, now we're going to come in with a dry and clean mop brush. I'm going to go right into my orange and my yellow. And I'm just going to start tapping along the ends of the branches first, and then bring in a few closer to the tree trunk. And we'll go ahead and start adding the same colors to all of the trees. Now feel free to add a little bit more orange or yellow when you do this. They don't all necessarily need to be the exact same shade everywhere. That's a little bit unnatural. They can be the same trees, but maybe some of them have a little bit more light to them than others. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more yellow to this one. Add a little hints of those colors here and there, maybe from some leaves falling, or maybe just different little bushes. Okay, now I want to take another clean and dry mop brush, and I'm going to take white in with the orange and the yellow. And we're going to add some soft buttery highlights here. Take a little bit more yellow. Okay, now we're going to come in with a little bit of orange and white. We'll add little hints of this. A little sweep. Sweep in a little hint of that color. And finish off with a little bit more of the yellow. Little sparkle, brighter highlights here. Some coming out in front of the waterfall, a little bit like that. Just going to soften that a little bit there. Okay, so now we're going to come in with some more branches with our liner brush. Get my brush wet again. Black and orange like before. And we'll just come in and add a few little branches here and there. Add a little branch coming out from the side here as well. Okay, with my wrong end, my round brush, I'm going to take some white again, and I'm going to dab some brighter areas here at the base of this waterfall. Straight white, no water. Little tap, dab, and sweep. And we can add a little bit of a spray here just by misting over. I'll do the same thing down here, a few little taps and dabs, and then a little pull up. Just brighten any little area that you want. Remember, if you want more rushing water, then add a little bit of height. Instead of straight lines, you'll kind of go around and make them a little more bumpy. That can also make it look like there's some rocks under the water. I'll tap and dab down here. Lightly pull up. Got a little bit of yellow in there. I'm gonna go with that. I think that's kind of pretty. Just colors reflecting in the water. Go over my moon again. Could be a sun as well. I'm just gonna blend that out, blur over that. Add a little bit to the clouds here. Okay, I'm just about done this painting. I want to add a little bit more white down here on the bottom of this waterfall. So just take a little bit like that. If you want it to look like it's a little bit rougher looking, remember to just kind of go around in these little scribbles, tight circles. Finish the painting off by just adding a little bit. I'm going to use my filbert brush. You can use any brush you want, but I want to take a little bit more yellow and black and make that olive green. I'm going to add a little bit more of this in here. Gonna blend it out, take a little bit of it off by blending it out down here. I want it to be really subtle. I don't want to cover up all that emerald green that we have, because that helps create that beautiful glow that we have here, doesn't it? Add just a little bit more yellow and orange with my filbert. Got a few little leaves here. So when the paint is dry underneath, you can go over, it's called glazing. You can go over and kind of tint over it with another color or the same color just to make it more saturated. You see I'm just bringing in a little bit more of that peach to some areas. I'm bring a little bit more yellow in right here where it's a bit too white. I don't want it to look washed out and too light so that it's competing with the waterfall. I want the waterfall and our moon, the highlights in the water, to be the whitest and the brightest. So just by adding a little bit more color, yellow, and then just a little bit of orange in there, the waterfall looks really bright again, and those two are not competing anymore. Okay, so I want to thank you guys all so much for joining me for this tutorial today. Hope you want to paint along. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and even better, tap the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. That way you won't miss out on anything. I also have plenty of exclusive full-length tutorials on my Patreon. I'll have a link below for that and a link where you can purchase my brushes. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Happy painting, and I'll see you soon in another video. Bye!